When you hear the Malacca Sultanate, you probably picture this incredibly busy port, right? Overflowing with silks and spices, traders from all over the known world. But that's really only half the story. To become that global economic powerhouse, Malacca first had to become a serious military force, one that could absolutely dominate one of the most important sea lanes on the entire planet. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with how Malacca built itself into a fortress, then see how it came to rule the waves. We'll look at the legendary warriors who forged its empire, and finally, we'll get to the dramatic showdown with a new power from Europe, the Portuguese. You see, to even dream of becoming a global trading hub, Malacca knew its first priority wasn't actually commerce. It was all about defense. Its leaders were smart. They knew that having immense wealth just makes you a prime target for everyone else. Right from the get-go, the rulers of Malacca understood this one fundamental truth about their location. Being on that strait was both a blessing and a curse. Yeah, it could make them incredibly rich, but it also painted a giant target on their backs for every other regional power looking to get a piece of the action. And here's the key thing. This focus on defense wasn't an afterthought. From its earliest days, under Sultan Megat Iskandar Shah, Malacca was pouring resources into hard power. We're talking a formidable wooden palisade, a proper city wall with guarded gates, and a central beefed-up fortress just to protect the treasury and supplies. This shows you they had a clear defensive game plan from day one. Okay, so you've built yourself a fortress, but walls are just walls until they're really tested, right? Well, Malacca's ultimate test was about to arrive, and it was coming from the powerful Siamese kingdom of Ayutthaya to the north. Now, Malacca was facing a truly existential threat from Ayutthaya. In 1446, there was a land invasion that they managed to fight off, but the real main event, the big showdown, came 10 years later, and this time it was at sea. The Siamese sent a huge fleet with a very simple goal: to crush this upstart port once and for all. And this is where Malacca truly excelled. This wasn't just a battle, it was an absolute masterclass in naval strategy. Commanded by the brilliant Tun Perak, the Malaccan Navy had a serious edge. Their ships, which were likely a mix of agile vessels called lanchong and larger trading ships converted for war, were just better suited for those coastal waters. And they didn't just sit back and defend. No way. They went on the offensive, intercepting and completely routing the Siamese fleet. That victory was absolutely essential for controlling the straits. This naval victory was a massive statement. It was Malacca telling the entire region that it could not be bullied and that it was now the dominant maritime power in the strait. This wasn't about survival anymore. This was about projecting power. This was about building an empire. This famous quote from the era really sums it all up. "Whoever is Lord of Malacca has his hand on the throat of Venice." Just think about that. Controlling the flow of spices through the strait by military force meant Malacca could basically dictate terms to the economic superpowers of Europe. Military might and global trade were two sides of the very same coin. But of course, an empire's strength isn't just in its walls and its ships. It's in its people, the strategists, the commanders, and the warriors who actually turn plans into victory on the battlefield. And in Malacca's military machine, two roles were absolutely critical. You had the Bendahara, who was like the chief minister and master strategist all rolled into one. Think of great leaders like Tun Perak. And then, leading the fleets, was the Laksamana, the supreme admiral of the seas. And if you had to pick just one person who embodies the military prowess of the Malaccan Sultanate, it has to be the legendary Laksamana Hang Tuah. This guy was a master of Silat, the traditional Malay martial art. He was a skilled diplomat and an undefeated warrior. His story really is the story of Malacca's strength. And this is where things get really interesting, where legend and reality start to merge. The story goes that on a mission to the rival Majapahit Empire, Hang Tuah ends up dueling their greatest champion, a warrior named Taming Sari. Hang Tuah wins, and he's given his opponent's kris, his dagger. But this was no ordinary dagger. It was said to be magical, making its wielder completely invincible. That weapon became this powerful symbol of Hang Tuah's and, by extension, Malacca's unstoppable martial power. So let's recap. Defenses are secure, the navy is dominant, and its warriors are legends. Malacca was finally ready to switch from defense to offense. It was entering its golden age and was about to start building a true maritime empire. Under Sultan Mansur Shah, the empire's expansion was incredibly methodical. They had this highly effective three-step strategy. First, you use your military might to conquer key territories. Second, you turn them into a vassal state that has to pay you tribute. And third, the really smart part, you lock in their loyalty with strategic royal marriages, weaving the new state right into the fabric of your empire. And wow, the results were staggering. This strategy brought huge parts of the Malay Peninsula, places like Pahang and Kedah, and the entire strategic coastline of Sumatra under Malaccan control. So they effectively controlled both sides of the strait, creating a true maritime empire. But at the absolute height of its power, a new global force sailed into the straits, and they brought with them advanced naval technology and a completely different way of waging war. The end came with shocking speed. The first Portuguese fleet arrived in 1509. Now get this. Their first assault in July 1511 was actually fought off by Malaccan forces, a testament to their bravery. But a second assault just weeks later, backed by superior naval cannons and disciplined infantry tactics, succeeded. And after more than a century of dominance, the heart of the empire fell. The Portuguese knew exactly what they had captured. To hold the city, they immediately started building a massive stone fortress, a famosa, the famous. It was a permanent symbol of European military power planted right in the heart of Southeast Asia. And here's the truly brutal postscript to this story. To build their fortress, the Portuguese dismantled the very city they had just conquered. The stones for a famosa were taken from the ruins of Malaccan mosques, palaces, and even gravestones. They were literally physically building the new colonial era from the remnants of the old empire. You know, the story of Malacca's rise and fall is such a powerful reminder that controlling the narrow passages of the sea, the strategic choke points of the world, grants immense economic and political power. It was a geopolitical reality that shaped empires 500 years ago, and it's a reality that absolutely continues to shape our world today.